Today, I'm going to show you a horror movie from the US in 2025, Piglet. A friendly reminder, the movie is quite bloody, so it's best not to watch it while eating. A police car suddenly stopped on the side of the road. It turned out that the driver needed to relieve himself and could only do so while listening to music. Unbeknownst to him, a very cruel killer was being transported in the police car. The male police officer in the car gossiped about the killer's story, becoming more excited as he spoke. This masked killer had not only killed half of the prisoners in prison, but also many guards and even his good friend's mother. As they continued talking, the male police officer took out a dagger. Just as he relaxed his vigilance, the masked killer suddenly pulled out the chain and strangled the female police officer's neck. He then grabbed the dagger and stabbed the male police officer multiple times, finally stabbing him in the head. The female officer on the other side of the road dared not shoot. In the next moment, the masked killer was strangled to death with the chain. At this time, the driver was still relieving himself, unaware that the masked killer had quietly walked out of the police car. The driver soon became the next target. After eliminating everyone, the killer returned to his office and put on his unique pig mask. At that moment, he seemed to become himself again, the infamous killer known worldwide. The scene shifts to 5 pretty girls arriving in the forest to make friends. They discussed the killer incident but thought it was just a legend, so they didn't take it seriously. Unbeknownst to them, the killer's accomplices were ready to save him and let the killer choose one of the 5 to stay. The rest would become his dinner. Meanwhile, the 5 girls were still looking at the map to find the camp's location. A golden-haired boy with a shotgun approached them. Upon learning where they were going, he was surprised and kindly advised them not to proceed, warning that something bad could happen there, especially to young and beautiful girls like them. However, the more they were told not to go, the more they wanted to. One of the girls had found the route through mobile navigation, so they drove quickly to the camp. The golden-haired boy didn't say anything more. Soon after, they reached the small house in the camp. They didn't think anything bad would happen there, and even thought it was as beautiful as a painting. Suddenly, one of the girls saw Pigman staring at them from a distance, but when she turned around, he had disappeared. She thought she had hallucinated. They then went to the small house to find the landlord, but received no response. They decided to go to the nearby parking lot to look for him. Suddenly, the pigman's accomplice appeared, claiming to be the landlord of the small house in the camp. The girls were surprised by the sudden appearance of the landlord. Since all pre-booked rooms were communicated by phone, they didn't doubt his identity. On the other side, 3 young people were with the 5 girls. Coincidentally, their car broke down in the middle of the road. In this barren place, they had no choice but to walk to the camp. The landlord had already introduced the camp situation to the 5 girls. Due to the remote location, there was no phone signal, and the only way to make a call was in the landlord's room. After explaining, the landlord left. Meanwhile, the other 3 were still walking slowly. One of the girls, wearing earphones, was suddenly attracted by the beautiful scenery and stopped to paint. Her sister and brother-in-law waited for her nearby. To pass the time, they decided to explore the field. Unexpectedly, when they were about to get up, the pigman appeared next to them. He used a hook to pierce her sister's body directly. Her brother-in-law ran away upon seeing the gang behind him, but his feet were so scared that he couldn't move. Soon after, he was brutally killed by the pigman. The pigman didn't check if the brother-in-law was dead and left directly. At this time, the 5 people in the camp were drinking wine, unaware that the pigman had been standing nearby, watching them. One of the girls started feeling nauseous from drinking too much and went back to the room to rest. She heard a knocking sound on the glass behind the curtain. Curious and nervous, she walked over and found her brother-in-law, who was not dead yet. They immediately notified another girl and called the police. However, the girl suggested that her brother-in-law might have been attacked by a beast in the forest, as there were often bears there. The police thought the pigman story was a bit ridiculous and were more willing to believe it was a beast attack. The investigation ended with the police stating they would take the brother-in-law to the hospital for treatment. In the forest, the girl finally realized her sister and brother-in-law were missing and started searching for them. She found her sister's body not far away and was so scared that she lost her mind and backed off. At this time, the pigman shouted at her sister. She ran away immediately but didn't notice the beast's trap under her feet. Her sister cried and yelled for their mother, lacking the strength to escape. The pigman approached her and she, unable to escape, shed tears in fear. Meanwhile, the 5 girls in the camp were still drinking and chatting. 2 of them suddenly quarreled, leading to a fight. The other 3 saw the situation and immediately intervened. In a bad mood, one of the girls went to the river alone. The golden-haired boy and another girl appeared again, persuading her to leave the camp as soon as possible to avoid a killing spree. Another girl thought she was in danger and drove the golden-haired boy and the other girl away. The other girl, seeing they were not quiet, didn't interfere. Elsewhere, the girl found her sister's earphones in the forest and guessed she must be nearby. She started searching and soon found a warehouse. Curious, she walked in and found her sister's earphones tied inside. She tried to save her sister, who immediately reminded her to hide, as they might return at any time. As expected, they came back soon. The girl took the lunchbox directly. Hiding in the corner, she watched her sister being killed. Too scared to breathe, thinking about how to escape. However, she was found by the cruel people and was killed 2.5 minutes later. On the other side, two beauties were taking a bath and noticed the golden-haired boy peeping at them. They drove him away. One of the beauties decided to go back to the room to bathe and sleep again, but another girl sneaked into her room. It was too late when she realized, and the next second, the girl chopped her head off with an axe. This time, the girl and her sister returned to the camp and found no one else there. Sensing something was wrong, they decided to call the police in town, but the car wouldn't start. They had no choice but to split up to find the others. Meanwhile, the golden-haired boy found the pigman's warehouse, where another girl was inside. Seeing the golden-haired boy approaching, she pretended to be seriously injured to lower his guard. The next second, the pigman appeared behind the golden-haired boy, grabbed her hair, and knocked her out with a hammer. Not long after, she woke up and saw the already killed girl, another girl, and her sister. She was so scared that she didn't know what to do. At this time, the pigman attacked her again. Elsewhere, the girl and her sister were still looking for others. The girl felt something bad was going on. At this time, the pigman walked over with the golden-haired boy's body. They ran out of the camp as fast as they could, with the pigman chasing them. The tense atmosphere made them very scared. They split up and hid. The girl went to the bathroom, covered her mouth, and didn't dare to make a sound. But the next second, the pigman hooked her neck, immobilizing her. Fortunately, her sister appeared in time, allowing her to escape. But after running a few steps, she met the golden-haired boy, who shouted with a shotgun in his hand. The pigman fell to the ground instantly. The golden-haired boy shot the pigman for the first time, and was so nervous that he sat on the ground. But her sister didn't thank him for saving her life. Instead, she picked up the shotgun and aimed at him, making his face look fierce. She accused her sister of being ungrateful. Her sister, very alert, didn't dare to trust anyone at this time. She then asked the golden-haired boy to take them to town. Just as they left, the pigman opened his eyes, seemingly unaffected by the shotgun. Here, the girl tied the golden-haired boy's hands tightly with a rope. He tried to defend himself, telling them all this was another girl's conspiracy. He had come here to hunt before and was threatened by her not to enter her territory or he would be killed. He even saw the pigman and suspected that all the missing people had been killed by her and the pigman. Unfortunately, the two girls didn't believe him. Another girl came over and blamed the golden-haired boy, saying everyone was killed by another girl. She asked the girls to avenge their companions and claimed that another girl had a dead pigman in the forest. Her sister didn't know what was wrong with the golden-haired boy and believed the other girl's nonsense. She asked the girl to give the shotgun to the other girl. The girl was ready to hand it over when the pigman walked towards them. The two girls were shocked upon seeing the pigman. They saw the golden-haired boy being pulled away by the pigman. The other girl took the opportunity to grab the shotgun from the girl's hand. Her sister was shot in the thigh by the other girl while protecting the girl. The pigman was hitting the golden-haired boy's forehead forcefully, causing the blood to spurt. The girl took the opportunity to escape with her sister. The other girl wanted to shoot but found she had run out of bullets. She ordered the pigman to continue chasing the two girls. But her sister, shot in the thigh, had no strength to escape. She told the girl not to care about her. Under her sister's persuasion, the girl reluctantly chose to leave. When the pigman arrived, only her sister was left. At this moment, she was no longer afraid and just wanted to buy more time for the girl to escape. This time, the pigman didn't hit her hard, but tied her up in the warehouse. The girl didn't leave, but secretly followed the pigman to the warehouse. After he left, she snuck inside and found her sister barely conscious, hanging by the wrists and covered in blood. Fighting back tears, she whispered her sister's name and promised to get her out. As she fumbled with the ropes, she heard heavy footsteps outside. The pigman had returned. She quickly hid behind a stack of crates, barely breathing. The pigman entered and scanned the room. Satisfied that no one was there, he began sharpening a blade. The girl quietly grabbed a crowbar from the ground and, with all her strength, swung it at his head. The pigman staggered, momentarily stunned. She used the chance to untie her sister and help her down. Together, they hobbled toward the exit. But before they could escape, the pigman recovered and blocked the doorway. With rage in his eyes, he charged. The girl shoved her sister behind her and fought with everything she had. swinging the crowbar, dodging and biting. The pigman was strong, but her determination was stronger. Suddenly, a loud gunshot echoed. Loud. The golden-haired boy, bloodied and barely standing, had returned. He fired a second shot, this time hitting the pigman square in the chest. The pigman stumbled and fell onto a hook protruding from the wall, finally impaled. The room fell silent. The girl and her sister embraced, crying in relief. The golden-haired boy collapsed, exhausted. They dragged themselves out of the warehouse as sirens began to wail in the distance, the police finally responding to the earlier call. And that's the end of Piglet, 2025. A brutal ride filled with betrayal, survival, and unrelenting horror. What did you think? Would you survive a night at that camp? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more spine-chilling movie recaps.